Good evening and welcome to episode 10 of Racing Clear. Where have the weeks gone? I'm joined again by Matty Sutcliffe. We're in glorious sunshine, Matty, in Ireland. I presume you're the same?
Yeah, I am the same. Yeah, it's been absolutely lovely out here. We've had quite a bit of work to do this morning, so I managed to sneak off to the pub for a quick one early with the dog. She obviously walked me in there, so managed to get a bit of sun for myself. But yeah, glorious, mate. How was everything?
Yeah, good now. Can't complain, can't complain. Aintree, I was happy enough. Like a very good Thursday, punting wise, then didn't do any damage. Friday actually made a small few quid and then give a little bit back on Saturday. But overall a profitable week. And I think the way those kind of big meetings have gone this year, if you've made a few quid at Cheltenham and Aintree, I think you have to be happy enough.
Yeah, absolutely. I think both meetings have been tricky punting wise. It was a similar case for Aintree. Me, it started off very well on the Thursday, and then just kind of tapered off a little bit toward the back end, a few unlucky things and the odd place here and there. But yeah, it's a fascinating festival. Just shows you what can happen when you have something at 3 days, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. I really enjoyed it now, I must say. Some really good fare, which we'll be getting stuck into as we go through with the show. But I suppose the obvious place to start is with the national itself. And I think Simon Rowlands described it in his At the Races column as a grand national, and he was very much full of praise for the race in terms of the quality of the race. What was your view on it, Matty?
Yeah, I mean, aside um, the obvious that we'll get onto in a minute, I thought it was a brilliant watch, brilliant national. I think two out there was 7 or 6 jumping the fence, jumping the last two out, and I just thought, like, what a remarkable thing that is. Where the field weren't entirely strung out. We had, I think, 16 finishes. That's not terrible whatsoever. Up to eighth, only beating 18 lengths. Seventh beating 12 lengths. I thought, as a spectacle, it was quite impressive. I mean, I think the two I ended up finishing on were three. I had three card Bragg who ran out. Honestly, I think he traded 3-1 running about three out, and he just ran so well, and then just like a lot of Gordon Elliott's horses this injury, just kind of lacked that finish. Then Senor Chiswa gave a good mention to. He stayed on really well. And Manela Kakuna, who was probably my most confident selection, I thought he had an absolute stormer. And then then I heard the aftermath saying Jonathan Burke, his saddle slipped, I think, at the second. So he'd kind of gone the whole way around unbalanced. And I thought it was a remarkable performance to kind of just fall out of the extra place in seventh. Um, but yeah, I mean, what else can you say? Like, Nick Rocket went off relatively unfancied at 33-1 in the end. Five and some combination. It was brilliant to see that side of Willie Mullins as well, the emotional side. We kind of all have this idea of him as something of an Iron Man who keeps his cards close to his chest, but to see the raw emotion kind of pouring out, it's still kind of, it's almost reminiscent of the old Nationals where the emotion's still there, and even if it is a man at the peak of his powers and not quite one of the smaller yards, it just shows that what the National is still all about, and it's still that that feel good story, the feel good factor, and then to train the second, third, the fifth, the seventh, and have one brought down that was still going quite well as well, and appreciate it. Just an unbelievable feat, and like, you can have your opinions and whether it's kind of good for the game or not, but just just such an unbelievable testament to what an unbelievable character he is and how amazing he is at training. And it's quite scary to think that he's almost like just still getting going, like he's improving year on year. It's just ridiculously impressive. And I suppose we do have to touch on the Broadway boy fall. It was one of those where you thought, like, that's kind of the first thing you think in your head is, oh, racing's going to get some flack for this. And I suppose it's a bit of a shame it's come to that, which I presume is part of the reason why they've modified the race. And then obviously Celeba Dallen sadly passing afterwards. Again, it was just another stick for the Antis to beat the sport with. Um, I, I'm stuck in two minds because with Michael Nolan, because you can, when you look back at it, a lot of people say the optics aren't great. I'm of a firm opinion that no jockey would ever go out, especially on the biggest stage, to go out and intentionally ride a horse death like that. No chance. And the way I kind of saw it was 2 out. He ran a great race, and I think it was 3 out. He just started to weaken. He looked as if it was about to pull him up, but the horse. I don't think the horse was legless at all. I think he was quite close to the fence. He had to pop it, and that's where that little tap came. Thinking, right, well, you're gonna have to pop this, or you will fall. And and yeah, it just that circumstance. The post mortem came out earlier. Actually, they said it wasn't a direct cause of the race itself. I think he picked an infection after the race, in the days after, um, sepsis. So, but you won't hear that on any BBC News broadcast, will you? But yeah, so kind of sad undertone to the race. But I thought, as a spectacle in general, I thought it was a really good race to watch.
Yeah, look, similar comments from myself. Really, I suppose you've touched on most things. What I'd call it was a successful kind of modern national
Yeah,
since the race has changed. I actually watched the race live in Killarney. I was away for the weekend with my wife, and we met friends of ours. Now, I watched it in the company of one of her friends who isn't a racing fan, and her gasp at the Broadway boy, I could just tell that she wasn't comfortable with it. Now, I probably wasn't comfortable with that fall, and I was kind of hoping and praying that the horse was okay. And we met them at the following morning for breakfast, and I assured her that all horses returned okay, and she was like, even the horse that fell. And I was like, yeah, yeah. So I'm going to have to explain to her now what happened in the aftermath. But uh, I could actually see why the races had to change, because it's so many people are watching it, and the general public, the casual racing fans, they're not used to seeing it. Maybe they're not toughened like we are to an extent. Obviously, look, we all feel it as well if a horse gets injured, but we're probably maybe more I won't say used to it, that's probably the wrong word, but we're toughened around it, and we don't take as much notice maybe as a casual fan. On Willie Mullins, his brilliance is just like I think it's a joy to watch. Now look, I know it does trouble the sport in terms of competitiveness, but like this guy is like at the pinnacle of his game, and you talk about like great sportsmen, great sports people, like you think of golf and Tiger Woods, who like he totally like he made that sport. He has created. There's so many top golfers in the world right now who were all kids when Tiger was in his prime, or shortly afterwards. He changed that sport certainly for the better in terms of taking it to wider audiences. And I think Willie Mullins is kind of that type of character for racing. Like he's a thorough gentleman. I think a clip circulated online over the weekend of when Constitution Hill fell, and you can see even though he's got Lossiemouth involved in the finish, he scans back with his
yeah.
binoculars to see if the horse is okay. Like he does everything right in terms of how he carries himself, how he speaks about the sport, his manners, his behaviorisms. I think he's just brilliant for the sport. I think, and like you say, the national, even though it was Willie Mullins dominated, it still produced that story, like a father and son combining to win. One of the biggest races of our calendar, arguably the biggest. It still creates a story. Look, it mightn't be the rags to riches story that maybe some people are craving, but I think there's still something magical about it, and that's probably not possible in other races. For example, the Grade One contest as much anyway. And finally, just to touch on Celeb Delaine, postmortem found that the exercise associated episode experienced by the horse after the race had concluded by the time of death. Now, that doesn't say that it's not linked in some shape or form, but it was a subsequent onset of sepsis or endotoxemia, was likely to have been a key factor in the cause of death. And the heart pathology found no issues which are likely to be significant in the death of the horse on the race day itself. So look, it's not ideal, I suppose, but it just goes to show that you know these are high powered animals, and unfortunately it's not just in races that they can pass away, but certainly thoughts with all connections with Celeb Delaine.
Just just last part of the national. So just look there, it was 2 seconds outside the standard. Like it was ridden at a good pace. And do you think with the way the race is unfolding, and to be fair, it's the first time I've sort of really thought about it, is the way the race is unfolding, it almost has to be safer because it is attracting these classier horses who naturally used to running in bigger in better events, Grade One events, at faster paces against better horses. And I suppose that these horses who kind of like Celebrity Delan, who kind of he's a 13-year-old at the height of his handicap, on the career high mark still, but he's not in the same category as the likes of a Nia Maximus or Nick Rocket, really. And I suppose you think the way the race is going now that it almost has to be continued to be modified to kind of accommodate for these Grade One horses and almost appease the public for it to actually still be a race in the future.
Yeah, I think so. I think look, change was inevitable. We spoke about that in last week's show, and I think, I look, people will argue both sides of the fence, but in my personal opinion, this version of the national is better for the sport, and I think further changes are probably going to happen as well. But we saw the number of finishers very positive. When you compared it, the field size has six less compared to usual as well. So yeah, I think I'd be very positive on the race itself and the future of it in this form. We'll move on, Matty, to the Grade One contest and others. Plenty to go through, so we'll go back and we'll cast our mind back all the way to Thursday and the opening contest. And we got the podcast viewers off to a flyer with Impere Pass. Impressive too.
Yeah, it was a lovely performance. I mean, you could just see the cheek pieces. They almost worked to me like it was one of the best rounds of jumping I've seen. Really impressive. I thought very surprised it went off 9-4. I think it touched threes at some point. I thought if there was any that was going to get backed in, it would have been Imperial Pass. Quite impressed with the performance of Gidley Park as well. Backed up that lightning novice win. Made a mistake 2 out of dragging his back legs through. Lost some momentum. Not sure it would have been enough to win. And I thought Django Bay was a massive. I mean, we were both keen on taking him on as a result of that Arkle effort. I thought to back that up and to stay on strongly after such a tough race in the Arkle was really impressive. I'd be surprised if he's not a King George contender next season. And I also thought Boomborn. I thought Boomborn ran a huge race. I've always thought of Boomborn as like a spring grounds, late summer, early autumn type. And I just thought like the career best for Boomborn. And I just wonder whether maybe something like the old row next season over 2 mile 4 at Aintree would be his target for the season. But yeah, I thought it was an impressive. It was a great race to watch. Lovely to get off to a good start as well.
Yeah, very similar comments for myself. I think um, I don't think I have much really to add to that there. Django Boy certainly, like I saw like he was under pressure again quite early, so maybe he just hits a flat spot. But I thought he ran much better than I expected. In fairness, but yeah, it was a good start to the meeting and an impressive winner. And I'd echo your comments with Gidley Park as well. Murcia won the juvenile hurdle, and she was impressive too.
Yeah, just very impressive in the honeysuckle and Cargiza colours. You'd imagine she'll be. I mean, she was well backed as well. Like she was absolutely like late on hammered in the market. They got that one right. You'd imagine she'll go to the champion 4-year-old at Punchestown now, like Cargiza did as well. Yeah, just very good performance. I was a bit disappointed with Wendrock, especially on that Mercia line from the Fred Winter. Just never jumped the yard at all. Putting a short stride at every single hurdle. Just never seems to be going well. A bit disappointed with that one. Had the right fall line, just didn't fire on the day. I thought Live Content was very good too, despite the drift. Interesting. Dan Skelton said that he's going to stay hurdling this next season too, as opposed to going over fences. But handicap putting up to a 141, which seems quite harsh. Not they'll do well to find a decent race from next season. Probably has to be graded contest, but yeah, I think the first three home from that race, even put your hands together, I think we're all three to follow.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the strength of it, but the winner very impressive. I was kicking myself because she was 9-1, I think, the night before, and I looked at it. The next time I looked, I think she was into fives, and I was like, I've missed it. I've missed the price now. I'll let her run at that, and then see she goes off 11-4 and absolutely dots up. But yeah, one that got away maybe now for myself personally. My old friend Gaelic Warrior is certainly another one that falls into that category because I didn't back him. I actually backed Ray Downing in this race now, whose jumping was very poor in the bowl. With a better round of jumping, I think he would have gone very close. But They pulled well clear. And Gaelic Warrior, is he a Gold Cup contender for you next season?
I don't know. He's a bit of an enigma, this horse. I mean, it's bizarre that they've not had him at 3 miles over fences since he won at that stage race at Punchestown as a novice over 3 miles, where he really got the trip that day. I'm just surprised. I'm surprised they've not done it again. I just wonder whether this race might have flattened him a little bit for a Gold Cup contender. I mean, he was given a great ride by Paddy Mullins, which I think was his first ride in the chase course at Aintree, which was remarkable. As I say, he stayed on strongly, but just the front three, they took each other on quite early, didn't they? Stage Star, Grey Dawning, and the Real Whacker. I just wonder whether it was a case of Grey Dawning didn't quite go with his usual zest, maybe the ground perhaps, and the race just completely fell into his lap. Disappointing for Hoy Senior. I thought that ever was going to be a day for him. Would have been then. Travelled really well into the race, jumped really well, made one poor enough error, and then he came there travelling so well, and they just went lights out. I mean, that's not like a Hoy Senior really, especially around Aintree. He normally stays on quite well. I just wonder now whether that one's been to the well too many times, and he'll be ridden off into the sunset and have a happy retirement. But yeah, I thought Gaelic was really impressive. You can't really fault him. Just wonder whether the race flattened him a little bit.
Yeah, possibly. I think so. Like when you do go through it, and look, Grey Dawning didn't jump well. The others then, like, they're not really grade one horses. Like he's gonna look, he may well develop into a Gold Cup horse, but he is going to have to improve quite significantly on that again to get to the likes of Galopin des Champs. And I know the way you're thinking. The grade one hurdle, the Aintree hurdle, it promised so much. It was shaping up really well, but it just failed to deliver again. Another one of those big clashes this season where the jumping has got in the way of a real battle. What were your thoughts on the race before Constitution Hill came down?
I mean, my immediate thoughts were, as soon as he got in that pocket, I thought, what on earth are you doing? Like,
Mm,
it was both fantastic race riding from the Irish jockeys, Danny Gilligan and Paul Townend. You saw Danny move up on the outside of Constitution Hill and just put him in that pocket. And that's when Lossiemouth made her move, and really good race riding. And
yeah,
then, to me, I still thought he had quite a lot left Constitution Hill, but it just looked like a complete disconnect between ride and jockey. And I tell you, I had the privilege of hosting the Star Sports Spaces with David Russell and co. And he said the one thing this horse, if he does what the one thing he has is the potential to throw in a leap like that, and that'll be game over. And he was concerned about jumping, and it duly obliged. Like, what do you do now with him? I mean, it's almost like he almost has to go over fences and start respecting the obstacles. He's completely switched off from the task. Like, he's realised, okay, he's realised he's a great horse. He's winning all these races, but he's completely lost respect for the game. And as soon as you do that, something has to switch. I mean, I'm amazed that he's on track with Punchestown as well, because that was a heavy fall. Like, one of those ones where you think, how on earth he got up from that again?
yeah.
Very surprised he's going. I thought it'd be off for the summer now. I was impressed
I'd
with
be
Lawson
very
Martin.
surprised if he turns up still. I know they're
Yeah,
saying it's
well,
the
they said
plan.
they're going to, aren't they? Whether it's something to do with the white paint over the hurdles, it's not enjoying. I'm not entirely sure. Obviously, you don't have that in Punchestown.
Yeah.
But I'd be very surprised if he does go. It was very impressive Woodhill as well. I thought she went an absolute cracker. Great losing ride by Danny Gilligan. Lost in our 5 and 5 over 2 mile falls. It's just a wonderful mare.
Yeah, I was very impressed with Woodhu now. I actually, in my Cheltenham 2026 anti-post column, Woodhu was one of the bets, so I was delighted with her run.
What was the
Um,
price for that?
8-1.
That's probably fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was very happy with the run. I think she's shortened since now, but obviously, look, if Lassimo turns up, I don't think she will beat Lossiemouth, but surely Lossiemouth goes champion hurdle next year. I think they'll have to now next year. Like, regardless of her form, she seems to be like, her form seems to improve as well in the spring. So, like, even if she is beaten during the season, surely at Cheltenham they're going to have to roll the dice with Lossiemouth next year. I think she deserves to be in the champion hurdle for me now, and have a go at it at least. If she's beaten, then fair enough. But I wouldn't be too considered with her form early in the season next season. I think she's going to be right there come March time. Very impressive. For what it's worth, I think she'd have won anyway. I don't. I think she was after getting the run of the race, and I don't know Constitution Hill. I doubt about him at 2.5 miles anyway. From his previous effort in Aintree a couple of years ago, but
Do you
I don't
think
know.
that's why they had to ride him like and keep him covered up so long, just with the stamina doubts?
I think it definitely had a part to play. Yeah, I think they had doubts in the back of their mind, and I think that affected Nico's ride. Um, Look, I'm not a jockey. I haven't ridden any Grade One winners, but I think something like that, if there is a doubt there, it has to just play in your mind. It's like you're lining up to a golf shot, and you were in the water the last time you hit the shot, and where do you go again? Invariably, you land it back in the water.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. And what would
so
you do? What would you do with him? What would you do with him now going forward?
I don't know. Like, is he bored of hurdles? Is he? I don't know. Do they put him for a spin in the flat? That doesn't seem to be mentioned by them. Um, I'd just be worried, like in jumping fences. I'd be worried that it could get even worse. Um, I know plenty of people are saying he needs, he's not respecting his obstacles and all that, but there's no guarantee for me that he's going to respect his fences either, and that could be absolutely catastrophic if he takes off like that at fences. I don't know. I don't know. The trainers have different methods as well. I see it was interesting that Constitution Hill was schooled a lot, and Lassie Mount wasn't schooled by William Mullins after her fall prior to Cheltenham. Um, so it's interesting. They all have different methods. They all have different ways, slightly different ways of doing things. But I would trust Nikki to get the decision right. But just there are question marks now. We'll move on to Friday's Grade Ones, and I'm gonna have to re-jog my memory now here. The first Grade One on Friday was
Mildmay, I think it was.
the Mile May. Good man, you got me out of. Yeah, probably there's a reason why maybe I didn't remember this race too much. I thought it was a poor enough Grade One. I'd
I
have
would
serious
agree.
doubts about
I would
Jordan's now. I think his temperament isn't. I don't think he really likes winning too much. But hard to take away from Caldwell Potter at the same time.
Yeah, again, I thought Cobden was excellent from the front on Caldwell Potter.
Brilliant.
I
Yeah.
mean, the race, it was a messy race. It was one of them races where I thought if anything was going to win, it was something to come from behind. There was that much pace on, and I just feel Kid of Bourbon was the one that got away. Now, I don't know whether I'm looking at this through tinted lens because I backed the horse, but I mean, it went absolutely perfect for him until it was brought down. I mean, he was going much better than Jordan's at the time. And there's no, I wouldn't have ever thought Jordan's could be. I didn't think he was staying on very well. I think in the play, and I thought no, to step up to 3 miles, he had no chance. And I just think he got that close to Caldwell Potter, and he's a soft coastal path as many of them are. I thought Kid Bob, if he'd have stood up, he'd have got past it. He'd have got past Caldwell Potter. But jumping's the name of the game. I still thought it was a good performance for Caldwell Potter. Stepping up to 3 miles. Yeah, I just wonder whether it's plausible to draw a line through that form.
Yeah. Would you see Caldwell Potter making his mark in Open Grade One company?
I think I probably would, and the reason being, I think he's got a lot of flack because of his price tag, hasn't he? Obviously came from the Caldwell dispersal sale, and everyone's saying, "No, he costs this much and he's done nothing so far." But I think he's been well managed by Paul Nicholls. He's built. No, he's a lovely, lovely, well built horse. I think he's a by polyglot. I think it is a side of political and stuff like that. But I just wonder what his trip actually could be. I mean, does he step up for a Gold Cup? I'm not entirely sure. Whether he's by Martellini, sorry. Not entirely sure whether he'd get a Gold Cup trip. So maybe do you ping him out front and go for a Ryanair, something like that? He's similar to Protectorate almost in that sense, where I always remember Protectorate as a novice was quite good over 3 miles, and he just didn't quite cut it for over 3 mile two in the Gold Cup. Then drops back eventually, wins a Ryanair, and I wonder whether just Caldwell Potter over the 2 mile four distance that he won in the handicap would be a Ryanair type for next season.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, Ryanair, potentially. I couldn't see him developing into a Gold Cup horse personally myself. Ryanair, kind of depending if it was like something similar to this year's Ryanair, a very strong renewal, I think he'd be found out. But if it was maybe a slightly substandard or an ordinary renewal of the race, yeah, I could potentially see him getting involved in that. Um, Salvador Mundi, the horse that uh, he's kind of a horse that I just wish he'd had a cleaner run at this season. I got plenty of stick for putting him up very early in the season for the Supreme, and like I just think there's a real horse in here now, and we saw a glimpse of it at Aintree the last day. Romeo Coolio probably did a little bit too much, but like he was very impressive now to my eyes. He may not have been up to the top two in the Supreme anyway, but he definitely would have run very very well in the Supreme as the form would suggest from Aintree. Um, I think this is a nice horse now going forward. I'm certain he's certainly back on my radar big time.
Yeah, especially I mean it's the old take the hood off angle for Mullins, isn't it? I mean, he just looked like an absolute lunatic at Cheltenham, but he just looks so settled this time on the entry. Not the most fluent of jumping performances, but he's got so much natural talent going forward. It's almost like it reminds me of like a Ravel Morrison or something like that. Where you just think like he's got so much natural talent, and when he can be asked to put it all in, it'd be absolutely fantastic. Um, I mean, I think we both definitely got Romeo Coolio wrong. I made him a good bet at a short price. I had an inkling that his trip is 2 mile 4, and he should have gone for the Mersey, I think it is. But I mean, yeah, Salvatore Mundi is very impressive. I don't think anything was beating him on the day. And yeah, apart from the outside, just shows the kind of gap in the quality between the novices in England and Ireland. Though I mean, was it Triple Flyer and Diva Luna, Rubber Ball, all Jet to Vegas, all just well beaten, stuffed. Royal Infantry, and these are some of our kind of second grade novice, top novice 2 milers, and you just think, where on earth are we going to get this firepower from when the likes of a lunatic Salvatore Mundi's putting in performances like that? So, yeah, good performance. Tricky to gauge going forward, though, I think.
Yeah, I quite like the third going forward into
Yeah,
potentially good
yeah.
handicaps next season. I think there's more to come from him.
It's a
Um,
Carbo, I think it is.
Carbo, yes.
Yeah, I had him down as a potential chase. He's from the family of Sir de Champs. So
Okay, you think he go
potentially,
over fences maybe next season? Okay.
when I was reading, I watched the race back earlier, and I was trying to kind of guess whether he's got the frame for it. Doesn't look the biggest of horses, but he's got fairly decent strides, so might be one of them for those flat track fences.
Yeah. Okay. Personally, myself, yeah, I thought he looked kind of. No, like I say, I haven't seen him in the flesh, but I thought he looked smallish.
Yeah.
They might try fences with him, but if he did go into handicaps next season, I keep him on my radar. Um, John Bond did what John Bond does in the milling chase, I suppose. He just wins, doesn't he? Like he just finds a way. You wouldn't say it was gloriously impressive or anything like that, but he just gets the job done, and he's so consistent. Just a really good ambassador for the sport. Runs regularly, always turns up. Even if he is beaten, he's beaten. He goes down fighting, like he did at Cheltenham. There seems to be a reason for it. He's certainly not one of those horses where you just can't explain numerous pieces of their form. Just a really good, genuine horse.
He is. He's almost like the old-fashioned Hardy chasers. He's 18 from 22, 12 Grade Ones, never out the first two, £1.3 million in prize money. What else can you say about him? He's a flawless jumper as well. For some reason, just can't put it in around Cheltenham. And I'm not one of those people who thinks he doesn't like Cheltenham. He's just got bad luck around there, hasn't he? Yeah, it must have been an amazing horse to kind of own. You almost wish he kind of wasn't with one of the big guns in the sport. And that's no detriment to JP Mammoth at all. You almost wish he just was one of those kind of with the up and coming trainers. Just a fantastic horse, and I think he's still only 9 as well. Like he's still probably peaking. Um, and I'm sure I'll go to Celebration Chase at Sandown, and I'd love to see him step up to 3 miles or to a King George, something like that. And I think he just looks brilliant over 2 mile 4. And in fairness, I thought Protectorate ran a huge race to bounce back from a poor effort at Cheltenham, only beaten 2 or 3 lengths after making the running with Matata. But yeah, two very good horses. But John Bond's it must be absolutely brilliant to have around.
Yeah, definitely. The Sefton novices hurled threw up another fairly big priced result. A little bit of a bizarre race, really. They went a mad gallop here. Julius, they picked on, eventually stayed on best of all to beat Manila Rescue and Crest of Fortune. But in my opinion, and I don't know what yours is, Matty, the best horse in this race finished fourth. And maybe that's pocket talk on my book, but I feel like Mr. Meggett was comfortably the best of these in the race, but just didn't get the result.
Do you think he's the best horse? And I know I was as well. I was as confident as you were with Mr. Meggett as well. Do you think he's the best horse in the race, or he just can't breathe? Because I know he made that mistake 2 out, but even after 2 out, it didn't look like even just before. He kind of John Joe sat for so long, and he just kind of wondering whether he was being cheeky or whether he was thinking, I don't have much under the bonnet here. And he kind of started to go up and down the spot in the manner of one who was just struggling to kind of get his wind together. I know he had the first time tongue tie. I know he was off, I think, for a wind issue as well. So even accounting for that mistake, I just thought it looked a bit legless afterwards. It's a shame because maybe it was a layoff as well, didn't help. But yeah, I'd probably be mad with the opinion he's still probably the best horse in the race. It was a poor renewal, I thought, as well. I mean, the Eye Catcher was the second who was beaten off 118 and 121 in handicaps prior. So whether you can say it's the winner's a good horse going forward, I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, I wouldn't be giving up on John Jones, that's for sure.
Yeah, I thought he did enough now too early, in my opinion. Made his ground wide as well. I do agree that I don't think it was that he was being very, very cheeky. I think he was holding on. He felt like he had very little left to give. Mistake at the last then just knocked the wind out of his sails completely. But I don't think that was the difference between winning and losing. I think he just kind of, considering the gallop, I think he could have been really held on to. I don't know if he's an out and out 3 miler either, to be honest. I think he'd probably be better at 2.5 now. Maybe he might get 3 miles and better over fences, but he just travels so well, jumps so well that I think he could easily come back and trip to 2.5 and come home a little better. Um, yeah, interesting points on the breeding angle. He was wearing a tongue tie, of course. So there obviously is something niggling away. I wouldn't be surprised maybe if they try a wind up with him over the summer. But I think he's a novice chaser to keep on side next season, certainly. And we'll just touch on Saturday's grade ones quickly, and then we'll get into some eye catchers and um, this week's racing at Ayr, where there's very good contests as well. Um, so the opening grade one on Saturday was the Mersey, of course. Another one that's kind of hard to weigh up a little bit. Honesty Policy was a good winner in the end, showing a really, really smart turn of foot up the straight to get the better of Regent Stroll, who was another of Paul Nichols's horses to run a cracking race over the weekend. What did you make of the Mersey?
Yeah, well, I think that's the reason Romeo Cooley didn't go for the Mears, wasn't it? I thought, yeah, very well bought by JP. Regent Stroll looked much more professional this time around. Cocktail Divin, I think, just wants softer ground, and yeah, maybe not the strongest of renewals though. Don't think there'll be too much coming out of that contest, in my opinion.
No. I thought, obviously the winner does well to get his grade one, but obviously every grade one is valuable to win. But yeah, it's not really form that I'm going to be looking at too much ahead of next season's contest. The Liverpool hurdle was won by Hidden Valley Lake, who beat the Aintree specialist strong leader. Now I suppose if strong leader's form at Aintree is taken into consideration, there's probably a bit of strength to this form. Do you think?
Yeah, I think he reversed the form from last season. I think he was second to strong leader last season, or maybe third. So the reverse of form there. Yeah, it looked impressive. Well executed plan from the Bromhead. Don't think strong leader banner bad race. Just hit a flat spot 2 out. I think after being short, being a bit of a pocket. And I think there's a big pot in Jatara as well, the mare for Jess Harrington. I thought she ran a great race. But again, it's one of those races you kind of take with a bit of pinch of salt. End of season form, Cheltenham form, kind of not quite weighing up. bit of a specialist distance, specialist race. But yeah, yeah, I mean they're the first and second in the Cheltenham Stays, and then Robco had the winner in the Aintree one. So they're kind of holding that division for now, aren't they?
They surely are, and it's a weak enough division, isn't it? Like some surely something's gonna like Willie Mullins is going to target these 3 mile hurdles at some point, surely, with a horse that maybe isn't quite making it or cutting it over fences. Um, because he seems to be kind of like he threw Kitzbühel into this, but he was disappointing. But I think he surely has something in his yard that can be very competitive in these contests. And if he does target the stairs next year, it looks an open division. And maybe Jasmine DeVoe might stay hurling. I think
Yeah,
he could angle into the
or
stairs,
even Ballyburn, maybe. You never know.
or even Ballyburn. Yeah, yeah. Depending on how his jumping goes. In the meantime, and the final Grade One of the weekend was, of course, the Maggle. And it was won by Paul Nichols again. Nichols had a brilliant weekend, didn't he? Like all of his kind of what we consider his big guns, and earlier in the season you might have been saying they've been disappointing, but Caliph de Burley wins again here.
Yeah, look, he's obviously not forgotten how to train a horse overnight, as Paul Nichols. I think he's
Yeah,
targeted the meeting really well. Had a couple of unlucky seconds, but yeah, his big guns have really fired, and it's good. It's good to see as well. I think he's managed them really well this season. Not sent any over the top. He's kind of been patient, had to wait, and he'll have picked up plenty of prize money in the process. I just thought with Caliph de Burley, I wonder whether it was slightly flattered. I mean, Brookie was only 3 lengths in behind. It's just a handicap, lucky he's stuffed by Ballyburn and Sergine at the start of the season, wasn't he?
yeah,
And I know he wanted. I think he won a handicap last time out, but I think it was around £15 inferior. And the fact that Loda Sud was third suggests my immediate thought. Loda Sud they're just over the top. The race at Cheltenham, he's just might have taken it out of him for now. The ground probably on the quick enough side for him. So again, it's one of those where you think, okay, great, Cobden's great from the front, but how much can you weigh up going forward? Is he a champion chase contender for next season? Possibly. Still only a 5-year-old, got a lot of upsides. Wouldn't necessarily say because of the form he can't go and progress, but I just treat it maybe with an air of caution.
yeah. I think I'd agree along similar lines there. There's a few of those Grade Ones at Aintree that just not sure how strong they were, but that won't bother connections too much if once they get their
No.
Grade One win on the board. So that's the review of Aintree. Before we finish off and move on to this week's action, had you a couple of eye catchers from the weekend?
Yeah, I'll whiz through them relatively quickly. I thought Break My Soul in the entry hurdle had a huge race, 125-1. Was there to pick up the pieces. Only beaten, I think, 11 lengths in the end. And I just wonder whether I think off that mark he's on now might be one something like a county or one of those 2 mile contests at Leopardstown around Christmas time, perhaps. I think there's still a lot of upsides in his mark. I thought in Edit Star ran a great race from Nick Kent in the Red Run. The first 4 horn pulled 7 lengths clear of the fifth. He just got up close for third. Still a novice over fences as well. It must be a big pot in him off 129 on some of those novice chasing next season. The Friday, I've already touched on Keeda Bourbon, travelling very sweetly prior to being brought down at the 14th. I still think he would have won. And again, whether he's won for a handicap, I'm not too sure, but the opinion is that he's a graded chaser over 3 miles. Um, and then in the handicap, the one that was won by Wellington Arch, IK Sport beating 10 lengths under a keen hold for Neil Mulholland. Little Rumour Mountain and Challenge, and he's only £5 above his last win, which was an 18 grand contest at Sandown towards the back end of this month. And perhaps that might be the aim with that one. He won it by 6 lengths. So maybe they've gone back for that one. And Tapley as well. I think there's a big pot in Tapley, the grey. Ran in I think it was like the 2 mile handicap towards the back end of the week. Went to jump 2 out in front, but just literally, he kind of went to, it was really strange. He went to jump the hurdle, kind of half jumped it, planted, and then jumped it again. He must have lost quite a lot of lengths, kind of. I've not quite looked at the race IQ data just yet. He must have lost a ton of lengths. And I think he still kept on. There's a big pot in that one too. Saturday as well, just quickly, double powerful, not a brilliant jumping performance, but he flew home from an impossible position. Been on the go all season. He kind of made rapid rises through the handicaps early on in the season. Still recorded career best RPR. I'd imagine they'll put him away for the season, probably go novice chasing. He's on a good marker to do so. And Earn River as well stayed on really well to get a third in the freeboot handicap. He's a 10-year-old. He's not. They've not. I think the fact they've not given him racing veterans chase yet speaks volumes how they think of him. But off a mark of 129, previously rated in the mid 140s, 150. I think he'll make his mark in veterans chase next season. So yeah, those will be kind of my ideas of ones going forward, not necessarily for this season, but on the good marks next season.
Okay, plenty of horses to go through there. Just the two for me. One kind of a next season project. That's look, he wouldn't have been missed by many here, but I think this is actually a Grade 1 horse in next season. That's Kopek to me for the aforementioned Willie Mullins. Look, I was on this train for Cheltenham. He totally blew out, but this was much more like it, and I think they were just basically trying to teach him here. Look, Mark Walsh got plenty of stick for giving him too much to do, but I think the most important thing for Connections was to get this horse educated and learning how to race and how to actually be a racehorse, because he just looked like a lunatic at Cheltenham. I know you compared a horse earlier to Ravel Morris, and this fella was even worse at Cheltenham. His carry on, he disgraced himself, as some fellas would say. But this was much better, and the ground he made up the straight, like, he's definitely ahead of his mark. But he was bought to be a chaser, and I think that's where they'll go with him next season. And he's one that I'm looking forward to in novice chases. And a handicapper that is, I'm thinking more short term here, and I'm thinking Punchestown, Park of Kings. Little bit similar to Kopek to me. I feel like Connections maybe had a little doubt about the trip, or just testing the water. The last time he ran over 3 miles, or the only time previously he ran over 3 miles, I think he looked like he didn't get home. So they were giving him every chance to stay the trip. He finished off his race well. I think he'll certainly stay now. And I think Punchestown must be on his radar. He's been, he hasn't had a very hard time of it this season. I think he did very well to get as close as he did here, given where he was jumping the second last. And if the ground stays nice for Punchestown, he would be very much on my radar for the 3 mile handicap hurdle there. So they'd be my two. And just the Scottish national to get stuck into after that, Matty. I'll introduce it here and say that, hold my hand up, I found this race very difficult now. Looking at the English national last week, I know there was a lot I could make a case for. This is almost the opposite, in that I found it hard to find one that I think is very well treated, or is reliable, or ticks a lot of boxes. I was able to raise plenty of question marks about a lot of them. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, look, similar. I honestly think every horse can both win this and lose this, because I've absolutely no idea how to. I mean, you look at Mr. Incredible at 100 to 1, and even then you think if he jumps off and gets around it, he's got the natural talent to beat these without doubt. I found it really tricky to weigh up. I went through the Willie Mullins runners, and Chosen Witness is obviously the starting point. Won the 3 mile novice handicap at this meeting last season. You'd imagine he's been plotted around for this over fences. 2 runs over inadequate trips, and was still going okay when unseating in a grade 2 at Navan last time out. Olympic Man, I think, was going to be the choice of Paul Townend, but with I think he's got a wrist injury. So the Grand National winning jockey Paddy Mullins takes a ride. He's interesting. I think last time out, Mullins have a great record in this contest. If he gets the trip, he's dangerous. Can you look back through his race on the Racing Post over fences? It's staying on, kept on, and not fluent after last, but stayed on. Stayed on 5-length fourth to Dancing City on Chase debut. I think Olympic Man has got quite a lot of upside, and Captain Cody, I couldn't quite get a good cap on. Good run at Navan, staying on to 3 card Bragg. Then the unseated in the National Hunt Chase when around 12 to 1. Just not quite unsure about that one. I thought McDermott last year's winner needs it softer. He's on now, he's a pound lower, but all of his best forms come softer ground. Then he kind of go out of the Mullins camp, and having his friends in there, and he's often shit. I think he's often shit. He won the Reynolds over 3 miles and stayed on in the first time cheek pieces, and he's often shaped this trip could suit. His ground's key, and he's not entirely disgraced when 8th of 24 in the Ultima Riva. Rock My Way, similar type as well, staying on second in the National Hunt Chase. he's by getaway out of an old Vic mare, and so you'd imagine he's bred to stay well. And you go further down the field, and Surrey Quest has got a good chance on last season's form. Walking on airs now with new connections. He was unlucky in the Great Yorkshire Chase, I think it was, when coming down behind the Doc Pickme. It's such a tricky way, so you think any of these kind of win. I thought there's two that were overpriced. So I thought Clark Kent of the Mullins contingent. I thought he was overpriced. Now he might be another that does need a quick softer ground. All his best forms come on the softer surface. But he's by Spanish Moon, and you'd imagine that a quicker surface would be okay in that respect. He's £10 lower than his sixth length fourth in this last season, and I'd imagine they're campaigning with this race in mind again. Jonathan Burke takes a ride, jumps ship for Magnus Sam again. Not surprised given the ride that he gave Manila Gakuna in the Grand National, Johnny Burke. As I said, mentioned earlier, saddle slipped early on, so I think he'd have got much closer. So it'll be Clark Kent with the £10 lower if the ground's okay. And as well, Brandt, when I mentioned the last time out winners angles, has a great record on this race. Brandt won the Dublin National last time out on good ground, absolutely powered away at the line. It's aggressive over fences prior to that. And Sean Bowen gets a leg up as well off 10-2. I'd be interested in Sean Bowen's stats off 10-2. I've not quite got them to hand, but surely maybe someone can give us for him. He's one from 4 for Keane Collins. So I think Brandt and Clark Kent in a very, very tricky renewal.
Yeah, one of the other issues I had when I looked at the race, I couldn't see that much pace in the race. Look, invariably, like, it's a big field. Expect, like, there should be a decent clip, but there's not too many natural front runners here. In my opinion, anyway.
No,
I'll
maybe
go to the top.
our power. Maybe our power might make it.
Our power, or maybe Henry's friend.
Yeah, but yeah, there's nothing. No, it's not Blessed Speed. No, you're right.
McDermott will probably be up there, but I'm not sure he's necessarily going to make it. Of those at the head of the market, I was just kind of leaning towards Henry's friend. Wasn't a very strong shout or anything like that, but I'd forgive him the Cheltenham run last time in the Ultima because he's had only 2 poor runs over fences, and both of those came at Cheltenham. His form figures over fences read 5-1-1-1, P5-1-8. So the pulled up and the 8 both coming at Cheltenham for him. So aside from Cheltenham, he's been very, very consistent and very progressive over fences. He's gone from, I think, was it a mark of 1-2-6 he started off over fences, or sorry, his first win came off 1-2-6. He is up to 1-4-4 now, but he still seems to be improving. And then at bigger prices, the only two I kind of felt like I could make a case for, one was Famous Bridge, who is only £3 higher than when beating Apple away at Haydock earlier this season. Stayed on really well. That was good to soft ground. Like, a lot of his form is kind of soft and good to soft. The ground might be a little bit of a concern, but he has won at Wetherby before, admittedly off a much lower mark, but he has at least won on good ground, or ground officially described as good. And the other one, who I'm kind of kicking myself that I missed the price here, is Sail Away for the Skeltons in their bid to hold off Willie Mullins. He was actually 33-1 before declarations. He's only 16-1 now, so I'm kind of kicking myself a little bit that I didn't have a small play at 33s. Just going back to his air form from 2 years ago, when he beat Forward Plan off a mark of 136 in the novice handicap at this meeting, like, he absolutely powered away. That was on good ground. He made all, he jumped well, and he ran away to win by 11 lengths. That was off a mark of 136. He ran okay then the following season off higher marks, like he went close off marks in the 140s. He plummeted in the weights since then. Like, this season hasn't really gone to plan, but his last 2 runs have shown a little bit more promise. He was third at Kempton, only beaten 4 lengths off 129, and then he was second to the Dying Chief at Warwick when he probably should have won, or could have won at least anyway. Now he's £3 higher for that effort, but he's after finding a little bit of form. I don't know, has this been a long-term plan or what? You never know, but he's certainly going to be trying in a race like this. He's well handicapped on his old form, and he was a big price. Now, if he gets much shorter than 16s, I don't know. I thought he was a play at 33s and probably down to, probably around the 16-1 mark. But if he gets much shorter, I might be leaving him off. But they were kind of my three against the field, but it would be very, very tentative. Um, Anything else to add on the Scottish national, Matty, before we move on?
No, apart from just you can probably just back all the Willie Mullins runners, and you'll probably make a profit.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Uh,
like the sail away shout though. I think I backed forward plan a couple of years ago now at Doncaster, and the following season I remember sail away. I'm sure they're plotting him back for that race. I know they've always thought high. Thought highly of him. Yeah, if he gets his trip, I mean, he's got his ground. He's as you say, he's thrown in. Yeah, a bit kicking myself missing that price as well. So I think that's a nice one going on the radar.
yeah. Okay, we'll move on. Final segment of the show, our best bets for the weekend, and I have a feeling we could be in tandem here with one, but let's see anyway. So, Matty, I'll let you go first. Your nap, your next best, and if you have anything else.
Yeah, now I've just realised we haven't actually discussed the our best bets like we normally do. But I'd
Yeah.
hazard a guess and say both of our naps is ethical diamond. I
You're
would hazard
close.
a guess.
He's not my nap, but he's my next best. He was my nap,
Yeah.
and then I changed my mind last minute. But yeah,
Well,
he's there anyway.
this is county hurdle redemption. This I was sweet on him. I mean, I was sweet. I think I was on at 25 to 1 anti-post, and when he had that qualifying run, I thought, "What are you doing, blowing your mark like that?" And we both said it like it was bizarre. It was a bizarre way for Willie Mullins to kind of campaign one for a handicap like that, and it makes you think. I know. I think it was 8 to 1 in the evening, and then he went out to 16 to 1. I think he went out to 16 to 1 when Paddy was dropped up. And then Cargiesi was well backed in, and she duly obliged. Ethical Diamonds held up right off the pace, had kind of given no chance, but flew home late. Was only beating a few lengths, was only beating 2 lengths behind Absurd. Obviously, last year's winner of the county. Cargiesi went up £7. She's a grade one mare. I just think I'd be amazed if Ethical Diamond can't win this off what is surely a workable mark. Yeah, my next best would be Ideal the Boards in the chase at Ayr. I just couldn't have him as a 125 rated chaser. I know I kind of slag Coastal Path off a little bit. I think he just one that needs to be delivered right on the line. Ideal board comes off the back of a wind up. Nicky Henderson, I think he's £18 in profit to a £1 stake with horse returning for a wind up. And that's just he was progressive prior, and he just looked kind of the last day like he was just up and down the spot. He was keen, not really enjoying himself. So I think he only had the wind up a week later, which kind of tells the story. He's got a £6 swing of Ide, who he went down by a length to last time out, or carrying 12-1 as well. And he was a good winner on Chase Derby last time out. This good ground's key. He won on good ground in May last season, so it might be the time that he kind of springs to life. So I think in a kind of a well opened race as well, ideal the board for me. And my each way bet is Melistic in the 110 at Ayr. Now I think 3 of the last 4 winners of this contest have raced in the race prior. The winner in 21 also, the winner in 2018 won it back in 2021. And I think it's one of these races, one of these kind of specialist races where a horse has been plotted and targeted for the race all season. Especially with like a horse like Melistic, who's kind of he's an older boy now. He's kind of not got many options. And when he won this contest in 2023, he started the season afterwards on a mark of 150, going into a veteran stage, and I think he just was in the grip of the handicapper all along. Still kind of he came down the weights and he was third twice at the back end of the year, behind in and around the likes of Tommy's Oscar and Trapper in Law and Home Public, who all we oppose here. He's got a good weight swing with those, and he has a good weight swing with Tommy's Oscar from his second at Kelso at the start of the season, giving £15 to the winner. I just think since that opening mark this season, he's been campaigning with this race in mind. He's on his lowest mark ever in handicaps. Gets a first time cheek pieces. Wasn't disgraced at Doncaster behind Brookie. 10 lengths behind Brookie, of course, was they split a load of sudden Caleb de Burley last time out. So I know he's 11-year-old, but the cheek pieces go on. He's won the race before, gets his ground. The yards in the form, I think at around 12-1, Melistic could be a good each way bet.
I like that. Yeah, yeah, I like that a lot. Melistic at Ayr on Saturday. I mentioned Ethical Diamond, my next best. He was just jocked off by he was going to be my nap, and I had a quick glance at tomorrow's card at Ayr, and Risk in the Ground is going to be my nap. Runs tomorrow at 3:15 in the 2.5 mile handicap chase. He was a huge eye catcher. I don't know if you saw it, Matty, but on his latest run at Newbury, when he absolutely flew home, wasn't beaten all that far, nearly grabbed fourth, and he's actually been dropped a pound for that run, which I think is very, very generous from the handicapper. Um, he's
Oh, it was Palou's
this,
race, wasn't it? Return to Gal's race, yeah. Yeah.
yeah, he's this is his time of year, basically. I know it's between May and September, but his form really took off last season. Look, he just likes nice summer ground. He was given a break midwinter. He's going to be fresher probably than most. He's on a back to his last winning mark. I think he has to go well. Obviously, the yard want him to win, and I think he's going to go close. He's going to take beating around the 4-1 in the 3:15 tomorrow. My next best is Ethical Diamond. Look, you've made the case. I can just echo that. Great run in the county hurdle. Look, this is a lower contest, definitely, and I think a repeat of the Cheltenham run will make him very hard to beat here. And my each way, I'm sticking with kind of old reliables here now this week. My each way is Pick Rock in the novices handicap chase, the 143 on Saturday. Look, I was all over this horse when he was beaten at Newbury. I feel like maybe he could have won. He just kind of jumped left at the last, and it was the wrong time with the elbow kicking in, and he kind of lost a bit of ground in that regard. But he ran okay at Cheltenham. Like the race didn't pan out for him. I kind of forgive him that run. He didn't have the cleanest of trips around, and I think he's a 3 miler. Like I know they dropped him back in trip to 2.5 at Cheltenham. Like I think all this horse does is gallop and jump. And if they can make use of him here over 3 mile, back up and trip to 3 miles, get him on the front end, get him jumping, get him galloping, and I think he'll be hard to catch. Um, it is the dead eight, so I'd be very careful if you are playing each way at whole fire. But he's an each way price, all right, around the 7 or 8 to 1, 8 to 1, I think generally. But I think he's worth a play at that price. So that's our best bets. We've covered plenty. 57 minutes down, just under our hour, which is we're glad to, after a couple of long ones there, we're glad to get back in under the hour and be nice and fresh for the weekend after recording this on Thursday evening. Matty, thanks very much as always for joining me. You've been a pleasure. We'll let you back out and enjoy the sunshine, or if you want to take the dog for a pint.
Just started going now.
The dog might be thirsty, so get one in for the road. Thanks very much, Matty. Pleasure as always. Gentlemen, very informative, and really enjoyed our chat.
Yeah, thank you as always, James. Enjoyed that. Best of luck with everyone this weekend as well.
On the ball.